Yo guys, what's going on? It's Tom for Two here, or Chess when I Lost Ark. Today I just wanted to do a video talking about Behemoth and the community sentiment around that, and what we can kind of do to, or what you can do personally to kind of help the situation and get yourself in a situation where you can kind of run this and not be gate kept and have a better experience than what I think the community sentiment is, at least for the first 2 weeks of Behemoth. So Behemoth's been out for 2 weeks now in NA, and people have been having a hard time, I guess, clearing it. There's more jails than usual, and I think it's because not people thought it'd be as easy as running Argos for the time being, but it definitely hasn't been the case given people's eye level, um, and the fact that AGS did lower the eye level to 1620. In Korea, is a higher like eye level to run it on, but in NA, it's 1620. Um, And with that means that if we want to be able to run stuff easier, then everyone sort of needs to do their part to make sure that their character is in a state where they could pull their own weight. And I'll get into that a little bit. But before I dive into that, if you guys like this sort of content, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Check out my other content. It really does help. So yeah, let's just dive right in. So first, what I consider acceptable for the new raids, and this is just talking about like Theamine, Echidna, Voldus. Voldus, I think you could have 35 set, but with the new Elixir updates for hard Voldus, you should be having 40 set Elixir minimum now. I get that if you're just running Voldus for the first time, it's gonna be hard, but if you're like doing reruns, you should have like a 35 or 40 set. They've given us plenty of free elixirs. They've given us a lot of silver rolling ones. And they also nerfed it so that normal and hard gives you legendary elixirs now. So by the time you're running Boldus, you should have at least a 35 or 40 set. If you're trying to run normal Thamine now, Thamine, I expect that if you are a reclearer, you should have a 40 set minimum along with at least 6 flowers of transcendence per armor piece. So that's going to be, or at least 5 or 6 flowers. So level 2 of transcendence done on your character. That means between 25 to 30 flowers of transcendence total. You have a 40 set. Um, and that just helps you pull your own weight so you get those extra, damage buffs and effects for your character. Now, if you're running hard Thamine, I expect that your character has, you're going to be 1630, and you have you're expected to have 100 flowers of transcendence done, in my opinion, and of course a 40 set. Reason being is that hard Thamine is still a jail, especially if people, you don't have enough damage or anything. So 100 flowers at least. Um, and level 10. Well, we could talk about gems in later, but people will accept level 8, 9, or 10 gems as long as they have good uptime, right? But from a paper on paper, right, you should be able to pull your own weight, and I know it's going to cost a lot of gold, um, but it is what it is. In normal Thamine now, you're able to unlock all the transcendence levels 1 through 7 as long as you clear it, all 3 gates. So you don't even need to run hard mode to get the additional levels of Transcendence unlocked. Normal Echidna, I expect you to have at least 5 to 6 flowers per armor piece, so kind of the same requirement as a normal Thamine. Um, yeah, the extra effects just really help with normal Echidna, and I expect you to be 1620 with 40 set. Hard Echidna, I expect you to have full Transcendence done, 100 flowers, along with a 40 set as well. Um, and at least you've got some level 9 gems. You've got full nines at least. This just makes the whole experience easier, especially with the damage checks, especially during snakes in the basement. So when we come to Behemoth, as you see the progression of the vertical systems between elixirs, transcendence, between Thamine and Echidna, by Thamine or by Behemoth, they allow 1620 characters to enter. But on based on my requirements, I'm expecting people to have at least 30, 25 to 30 pieces or flowers of transcendence done with 40 elixir effect. This raid was probably not originally meant for 1620 characters. It's probably meant for people's mains, right? Um, and you probably want to be at you know the strength of a 1630 character, which is about 100 transcendence levels with the 40 set elixirs. So right now we're at a state where people are running their 1620s, but they don't even have some of them don't even have 40 set, or some of them do have 40 sets, but they only have like 25 to 30 transcendence flowers. And I think the minimum requirement that a 1620 should have if you're planning to play your 1620 character through Behemoth is to have at least 60 to 70 flowers of transcendence done, along with the 40 set guaranteed. This will just help you get into lobbies, and you won't feel so trapped with the damage requirement. Even though you have 16 people that you're running with, everyone still needs to be able to pull their weight. Um, Now, if we move on to like our mains, you're obviously going to be way above 1620. You're going to have probably 100, at least 100 flowers of transcendence with a 40 set, and you're going to get into lobbies right away. And Behemoth's probably less stressful to run. But for alts that are still stuck at 1620, and no one wants to spend the gold to advance hone that many characters, the only way to boost up your character's power level is just to do transcendence after you get your 40 set elixirs. So the best recommendation I could say is you guys just gotta do the transcendence, and get at least 60 to 70 flowers total. And then once tier 4 drops, I'm sure everyone will gain 20 extra eye level, and I'm sure the raid will be a little bit easier considering we get a little bit more power and juice. But really, the only way that we could um, strengthen the groups and at an individual level is to just do more transcendence for yourself. So that's just the first point I want to make is just on paper, people's characters are just weaker in general, and they aren't spending the time to do the vertical systems, which is a bit of a hassle. Um, but it is what it is. You've got to do it in order to get more power. The second thing is I don't think people fully understand. I thought the normal patterns were pretty easy for Behemoth. Um, but I guess a lot of people don't bother to dodge. There's certain patterns like if you get lightning and water effects, you get a bunch of tick damage, and some people just don't dodge. Um, and they get both debuffs, and then you start ticking, and you're pretty much reliant on your support to just keep on shielding you and healing you until the debuff comes off, right? There's also the whole thing about using Atros. So again, every DPS character that comes in, you use Atropines, and in this gameplay that I'm showing you, as you can see, I'm already out of Atros. But there's a lot of people in these raids who tend to save the Atros. So the way that the wings mech work is you injure the body. If I pause the video, on the top left here, the body um, will turn red when you hit it enough. I think there was a mech back here. Yeah, right here where the body is hurt. Everyone needs to focus on one wing. You destroy, you wear down this meter to 0, and then you switch over to the other wing. You wear that one down to 0, and then you can do lots of damage to the head, right? It's pretty much no armor on the head, and you do massive damage with your skills. The problem that I see a lot in Behemoth right now is a lot of people will actually not use their Atros on the wings, like even the first wing. Like I think it's okay if like half the people use their Atros on the first wing and half the people use their Atros on the second wing. But then I see people who will use their Atros for the first wing, and then of course, you know, not as many people will use the Atros for the second wing. But then you get like 5 or 6 people using their Atros just for when the head is, available to hit. So you can see we failed, I think, this mech here. But let me show you one where we actually clear. So here we actually got both wing breaks here. Um, so we're right now working on the second wing here, and most people already atroed, right? But then what I noticed was a lot of people actually save their atros only when the head is available to hit, which of course is the weakest point on the hit. So you see like here, you've got like, 2 or 3 people, 4 people in the chat all of a sudden using their atros, literally just for the head. So they're saving them. And of course, if you don't break the wings, both wings first, then it's pretty chalked. And it's good if your parties are juiced, but I think the priority should be breaking the wings first, and you don't really need to atro the head, especially if your characters, if your characters are at eye level, so 1620, then you're gonna want to prioritize breaking the wings, not saving your atros for doing damage on the head, right? You always got to play the mechs first, is my philosophy, before you try to maximize how much damage you're outputting. And you just see people not throwing darks. I think people are pretty good at throwing darks, especially in this raid, but they're all saving their atros for doing more damage towards the head, and they're not really doing as much damage to the wings. And if you don't get the wing break, then you obviously have to spend more time dodging all these normal patterns, which obviously kill a lot of people, and you lose your life stock. And I think you only get 8. So that's kind of the second thing I want to bring up is just the usage of atros and people, if you got 1620 characters, it's going to be a lot harder, especially if you don't do the mechs properly. You want to make sure you get those wing breaks, um, and you want to make sure that everyone is kind of not holding back on using their battle items. It's a bad habit, but and there's 16 people to try to coordinate this with, so I get it if it's hard, right? Um, but yeah, the third thing I want to bring up is just this final mech. The 190 mech I think is pretty self-explanatory. It's just a stagger check. But then in this final phase, there's only like 2 major mechs that you need to be aware of. The first one is he's going to do a front attack, and then you want to dodge back twice. So here he does a red telegraph, so it means that the back is going to be not safe, and then the back again is not going to be safe. But then people don't know that call out. So if you can see my like notification in the chat, I'm like trying to ping the safe spots or ping the warning spots for people, right? So if we just replay again, it's front not safe, then back not safe, and then he's going to do a swipe pattern. And so the swipe pattern is the side that he starts to point to is the safe spot, and then his back is unsafe. And a lot of people don't know that, so my best advice for people is if you know these normal patterns in the very end phase, which is where a lot of groups I feel like wipe. You just need to know them, and then just start pinging like crazy to people so that they know where it is not safe, because definitely it will save a lot of lives. um, because if you get knocked out of the main arena, the center arena, you're pretty much at the mercy of your support, or if you have the recovery move. So as you can see, everyone's pinging to make sure in this current raid with my arrow, which are the not safe spots. And here he might do a turn. So where his wing is pointing is the safe spot, and you see we're all gathering, and I'm pinging where the safe spot is, and all of a sudden his back also we're trying to ping is not the safe spot right after that mech. So third point, just make sure you yourself know the normal patterns, and you can try to shot call for the rest of the people in your raid, and you'll have a better experience. So I think the overall, I kind of want to wrap up this video as I've been kind of rambling a little bit. Um, Overall, I think the community sentiment, it's a little bit over exaggerated, just given the fact that they're letting. It's only because we're at eye level. Pretty much everyone, a lot of people are sitting at 1620. At least a lot of like casual players or grinders like me who just decide not to push their alts too heavily. We pretty much are just trying to clear these raids at eye level, but we have to be able to know the normal patterns and not, conserve our atros and our battle items and stuff. It's just good habits to do all that stuff. Um, and it's also, just to recap, making sure that your characters are as strong as they can be on paper in terms of elixirs and transcendence and all that good stuff. So that's at least what you can control. And if you can control that and more people are able to, again, get their character to that point, I'm sure the raid will be a lot easier. At that point, it just comes down to people over the next few weeks getting used to Behemoth and doing more runs and practicing and figuring out those normal patterns, and then they'll eventually, um, once tier 4 hits, I'm sure it'll get a lot easier. So a little bit over exaggerated, but for now, it's definitely going to be a struggle, especially since people are all fighting it at eye level. So I just want to wrap up the video here. Yeah, hope you guys just enjoyed that. I think I brought up a few good points that everyone should just consider. And the number one thing again is just making sure that your own characters are up to par, and you're not trying to be a rat getting into lobbies where you probably shouldn't be. Otherwise you're gonna be jailed, and it's not gonna be a very good experience. So, yeah, again, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Maybe I'll talk about Behemoth some more, but I know a lot of creators have been making videos expressing their displeasure with Behemoth and the parties, but honestly, I don't think it's that bad. As long as you have some people that who can play with, and you guys are having a good time, and everyone is kind of a little bit overgeared, and they've done their due diligence on transcendence elixirs and all that good stuff, then should be pretty good. So, yep. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.